Hey guys, this is Jay Calderon with Jay Unboxing here, giving you a personal prediction for the Jamel Herring versus Shakur Stevenson fight, which is of course taking place this Saturday. And before we get started, as always, this is just my personal take. Your prediction, of course, can be left down in the comments section below. Would love to hear them all. And with a little bit of fight info here, we have Jamel Herring. He is the champion of the junior lightweight division, holding the WBO title, as a matter of fact, taking on the challenger in Shakur Stevenson, which is, of course, taking place at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, airing live on ESPN and ESPN+. And it's a very intriguing fight. Love this fight on paper, anyway. On the one hand, you have the proven champion that had to scratch and claw his way back from a couple defeats to finally come into his own, really enter his prime and win the crown, having some big wins along the way. On the other hand, you have the prospect turned superstar hopeful that promotional companies try to really push as their next big draw, their next big pay-per-view attraction in Stevenson. But can he make good on his toughest fight to date, or will Herring once again upset the odds? And we'll get more into the odds in a little bit. Let's break this one down. Starting with the champion here, for Herring to win, I think he needs to make sure don't let Stevenson get off first. If Stevenson begins setting the tempo, setting the pace, making it comfortable for himself, Herring is going to be in a world of trouble. No bueno, not going to work for him. He has to be able to kind of upset that a little bit, and by doing that, he's going to give himself the best chance to win. One of the ways in which he does it, of course, is by making sure that he's the one getting off first. You have to set the tempo. You have to set the pace. You're probably not going to outbox Stevenson, but can you outfight him? Possibly. Can you disrupt him enough and make what he would want to be a pretty fight an ugly affair? Possibly. That probably gives you your best chance, and of course, at the very least, is going to give you a chance, rather, to be in position to score more often and pick up a couple of rounds. I would also say the lead foot placement will be key. Especially when you're dealing with southpaws, you want to make sure that that foot placement is on, in the correct space in front of you. Well, you're both southpaws here, but that means you're both probably getting a sense that you're entitled to that lead foot position and that placement because you both are so used to having it. So it's going to be vital for Herring that he makes sure his foot is on the outside, and that allows for him to kind of control the pace, where they're at, and the placement of their bodies as the fight progresses. This will allow for more shots to land. This will allow for you to, again, get off first when you need to. And it will allow for, of course, Herring to land the best shots that he thinks are going to win him this fight, which in many cases is going to be that lead left hand. And finally, as I just mentioned, look to incorporate the lead left hand. Effectively, this is a converted lead right hand if you're an orthodox fighter fighting a southpaw, based upon the fact that obviously your body is going to be positioned differently. That lead left hand does a couple of things. Number one, a lot of times if you're jabbing, trying to land your strong hand behind it, that'll work by all means, but it also sometimes becomes something that a fighter, especially a solid one like Stevenson, can kind of time and catch and eventually counter himself. What you want to do is surprise him with it. Throw that jab and then the left behind it. In other cases, just lead off with it. This will effectively try to surprise him and give you the best chance of scoring and, of course, winning the fight. Now, for Stevenson to win, I think he needs to get his jab going early. Again, he'll, of course, want to land that left hand. That's, again, a lot of these points, because they are southpaws who are so used to dominating the position, these points are going to be very mirrored for both of them. But in this case, Stevenson has the faster, quicker jab. It's going to be something he's going to want to get going and get going early. It's going to control the pace. It's going to set up his work, and it's going to have a resetting effect on Herring when he's forcing him back a little bit and forcing him to have to kind of recalibrate what punch or combination of punches he's looking to throw. As I mentioned with Herring, the lead foot placement will be key. Stevenson is used to having it. He's used to controlling it. If you watch his fights, you can look where his lead foot is. It's almost always on the outside. And when it's not, he's looking to get it there. He's going to want to do that in this fight here as well. Again, they both will. So really, this is a key to the fight in general, in that whoever really has that lead foot placement on lock probably gives themselves the best chance to win. And finally, twist that jab into a right hook. If Stevenson is able to jab and continue that and get Herring used to that jab coming, the moment he twists it over and turns it into that right hook, he's going to have a lot of success because he's going to catch Herring off guard. It's also going to, again, line up that left hand that he's probably looking to land as well. If he hits with the right hook, lines him up, and then shoots right down the middle, which, of course, he'll be more than capable of doing if he's having his way as the fight progresses. So twisting that jab into that right hook is definitely going to pay dividends if Stevenson does it often enough. Now, I've picked against Herring in the past, and I've lived to regret it as I think he pretty much dominated Frampton, to be honest with you. But that being said, I'm going to have to unfortunately do it again. I think Stevenson is the truth. He is, while not always the most exciting of fighters, he is definitely a talented one, and he is supremely talented at times, and I think he's going to rise to the occasion in what I do believe will be his toughest fight to date against Herring. I do see that Stevenson probably comes out pretty fast, and Herring has to kind of build himself into the fight playing catch up. He might even have a few rounds where he does pretty well doing so. But ultimately, Stevenson will create the gap that allows for him to score consistently with that left hand as well as the right hook. I think he might even buzz or drop Herring mid to late, but ultimately will cruise to a unanimous decision victory. Stevenson via 12-round UD. Now, the betting odds for this fight are pretty wide, and they do favor Stevenson, of course, as I alluded to earlier. He comes in at a minus 950 favorite, with Herring, the champion, coming at a a plus 520. Those are pretty wide odds. Again, a straight up bet for Stevenson here feels a little bit like fool's gold. There's really not much of a reason to do it. And if betting on a heavy favorite has taught us anything, it's taught us that things like Mikey Garcia last weekend can happen. So there's really not a lot of reason to place any money on Shakur in a straight up bet. Now, could you find a potential prop bet where it's a stoppage specifically for him, or that you think it's going to go over a certain distance? Absolutely. There's a very good chance, again, that Stevenson does win this fight, at least based upon these odds, and you could probably find some decent money there. But the straight up line for Stevenson's a little bit just unnecessary for me in terms of bets. Insofar as Herring is concerned, again, if you happen to think that the American is going to pull off the upset here against his fellow American, by all means, it's a bet that you can take. But I don't see enough value in it with how much I do believe Stevenson probably wins this fight. Again, I've been wrong before. Last weekend will tell you, but at the end of the day, I do think that Stevenson wins this fight, and so it's going to be difficult for me to rationalize, even the 5-1 odds that I'd be getting if betting on Herring here. The best bet that I could probably find is more of like an over in an over under situation. I do think this fight probably goes to the scorecards, as Stevenson is not a huge puncher and Herring has a decent chin. He could get an accumulation stoppage or potentially a cut or something to that effect, but I do think this probably sees the scorecards. That would probably be where I'd lay my money in this situation, because otherwise I just don't find quite a bit of value in these odds. In any event, my prediction record heading into the weekend is 35, 14, and 3 with 10 exact. But let me know what your predictions are going into this weekend. Do you agree with me on the Stevenson Herring call? What are your calls? Would love to hear them all your predictions, your bets, so on and so forth. Please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and follow at jcalderon_JOB on Twitter, and you can email me at junboxing@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you there. Also, be sure to check out junboxing.com for schedule, results, betting odds, rankings, all of that good stuff. I'll also have a link in the description box for a piece I wrote on Stevenson and his ability or inability to draw fans into his fight, so I'd love for you guys to check that out as well. Again, link will be in the description box. And as always, until next time.